For a long time, our system has worked and our society has benefited from having some of our learners move on to higher levels of education. And today that's no longer tenable. So we need more people, and especially some of the people who are most challenging for us in schools, to succeed at much higher levels.
As we transition to the Common Core standards, which are very evidentiary based, it's important that the students take a vital role in the learning and not be the spectators, but be active participants.
The only thing that seems to sustain high achievement and motivation is the shift to really personally meaningful activity. If school isn't seen as personally meaningful or connected to them in some ways, students will become disengaged over time.
As you're learning and interacting with the world, the brain is constantly being adapted based on your experience. So it actually shapes the architecture of the brain. And that's really important because it shows that students' abilities are always developing and very much dependent on the education that they're given.
There's a lot of very solid research evidence in not just education, but in public health, in social welfare, in a range of areas that can make the case that when you have more personalized relationships for kids and adults in schools, that all kinds of outcome measures improve, not just academic outcome measures, but also health and welfare outcome measures in terms of dropout rates go down, teenage pregnancy rates go down, juvenile delinquency goes down.
We need to rethink what it means to be competent for advancing the literacy development of all of our kids, particularly African American boys, and how we need to take these courageous stands moving forward, because some of the practices in many ways only leads to very small upticks that many school districts are satisfied with, but we can't be satisfied with small upticks, particularly as it relates to African American boys.
We looked at research that was on ethnomathematics in other countries, people who were doing mathematics just in everyday practices, people who were learning mathematics for their jobs, for something later that really wasn't a school was telling you how to do. So I guess one of the things is that we're all hardwired to learn math, that's for sure, and we all are a lot more competent when we're in these other spaces. And so it's really interesting that schooling seems to be this constraining factor for a lot of people, and in particular for Black and Latino youth.
If we're going to move this agenda forward, we need to involve districts, and what would that look like? What would we need districts to do to bring these principles into practice?
We need better pre-service and in-service development for teachers and administrators, because they should be the instructional leaders in their buildings.
Need to engage parents and students and community organizations, because if they don't support this agenda, it won't happen. And then it's the process of doing the political work of working with legislators, superintendents, school boards, and others, so that this can move forward and be institutionalized in a way that means it will last.
Well, I get invited to a lot of conferences, and I have a lot of opportunities to be around people who are doing some really thoughtful work, and this one stood out among the many invitations I get. I think this is the right issue at the right moment to be focusing on, again, within this context of Common Core and other policy levers that are being generally accepted as the right way to go, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that more personalized approaches to engage and motivate young people is really important in that equation.
Well, interestingly enough, this is a group that doesn't normally come together. It's a group of people who are really directly involved in providing services, organizing schools, networks, and the kind of programs that show us how it can be done.
Really, the folks in our communities who are suffering the worst from our weak school designs are those who have the least say. So we're interested in sort of building some voice around that to challenge ourselves to do better for everybody, and especially essentially those who are currently underserved.